Well, everyone, the iPhone 11 is probably one of the best iPhones I would recommend. Probably some people out there right now in 2024, but I will say going into 2024, this iPhone does change a little bit, and I'll explain that throughout this whole entire video, so just get comfortable. We're in the new year now, and I can't wait to review all these phones and products that we basically have reviewed for the last couple of years. Now, starting off with the outside, the iPhone 11 is a very interesting phone. So you're basically getting that 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel on the front, and it was a good panel. It was a good panel, decent panel when it first came out, but that was it. You weren't really getting anything else super crazy with this type of product. It was, a 60 hertz panel, very, very average type of panel even when it first came out, but it wasn't terrible. I will say though, now it is probably one of the most lackluster things going on for this type of product. You're basically getting a phone that is fairly outdated. It's kind of stuck in this weird phase where all the phones after this got OLED displays except for the SE3, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to hype up this panel anymore. But I will tell you, the iPhone 11's screen isn't a terrible thing. You're still getting the notch, and iOS supports this particular phone. You're getting lots of features within this phone too, so keep that in mind. But I mean, the panel definitely isn't that great. You're getting a lightning port at the bottom, which is fantastic. We're getting USB-C now, but lightning is still perfectly fine. On the back side, you're getting that standard glass back, dual camera setup, wireless charging, no MagSafe here, but it's still a very good looking, iPhone. I will say with this type of product, you're getting a lot of capability and a lot of quality on an iPhone that costs probably less than $300 right now for the average person. And I think that's a really big thing going on for this type of phone. You don't want to go ahead and buy a phone and already have it insanely outdated with features, or not giving you what you want it to be, or whatever the case is. And with an iPhone like the iPhone 11, although it isn't the perfect iPhone and it's not, amazing, on the outside, it still holds up well against phones like the iPhone 14s, the iPhone 13s. But now that we're on the iPhone 15s and those iPhones are giving you USB Type-C, frosted glass backs, and all that type of capability, I definitely would say a phone like the iPhone 11 doesn't hold up that well against the 15 on the exterior, especially with that display. But it is what it is. There's not really too much we can complain about here. So on the outside, that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of the camera setup, this is also something very interesting between this type of device. So with the iPhone 11, you're getting a dual camera setup on the back side. So it's a wide and ultra wide camera. You're also getting that single camera setup on the front. You are getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back of this particular iPhone, which I think is very big. Once again, the cameras on our newer iPhones, are great. But if you think about the hardware of the iPhone 15, you're still only getting a dual camera setup. It's still only a wide and ultra wide camera. Of course, with the newer iPhones, we have, much more zooming in we can do. The camera quality is better. Cinematic mode is there. So many crazy cool features that we have now. But with something like the iPhone 11, you're still getting a lot of capability. You're getting 0.5x zoom. You're getting 5x standard zoom. It's a good enough camera for, if you're just taking photos and videos and just random stuff across the board. But if you are trying to go through and zoom in a little bit more, if you're trying to get the best quality camera, this is definitely not going to be the one for you. This is going to be pretty much an average camera that you'd kind of expect, but it's not going to be an amazing one. And that's probably going to be one of the, not the disappointing feature, but it's going to be something that you're going to pick up this phone and not really rave about. But it's still a decent camera. It still can give you what you want it to do, basically do. And if you're somebody who's just making Instagram videos or TikToks or Snapchats, this is more than enough for you, and I feel you're actually going to be kind of happy with this type of phone, and you're still getting 4K at 60 filming resolution on the front camera and the back camera of this thing, which is actually very, very big. So that kind of covers it up from that specific perspective. Now, on top of that, with the software longevity, this type of phone is actually going to be giving you a pretty decent software experience for the most part, and that's actually a really good thing. Now, this is a two-part story. So for one, from when it started in 2019 to up until now, you're still probably getting another couple of years of software support. I would say another 2 years, maybe more, but probably this phone's not going to be ending until 2025, maybe. It could end sooner, it could end later. But I would say you're getting the rest of 2024 and probably the rest of 2025 and even up until 2026 if, Apple gives us an iOS 18 or iOS 19 security updates. That's going to be a pretty big thing too. Like I said though, although this would not be the first phone I'd recommend people to buy, it's still a good phone when it comes down to that software experience. But on the flip side, the problem I would say is that you are actually kind of getting a different type of software experience nowadays than you were last year. So now that this iPhone has been out for a couple of years, Apple typically will basically go through and they will basically limit the amount of features that our newer iPhones got. And this type of iPhone is actually going to be giving us somewhat of a limited type of software experience. So the iPhone 11 was the cutoff point last year for a lot of features. Now the iPhone 12 is the cutoff point. So if you're wanting like all the features of a certain type of, iOS version, you're not really necessarily going to be getting that on something like the iPhone, 11. So when iOS 18 comes out, you're probably not going to be getting every single software, feature inside of your, iPhone 11 anymore. That's just how it goes. That's just how it is. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's one of those things to kind of keep in mind there. So that kind of covers it up from the software experience side. Now, in terms of the performance, this iPhone is still giving you a pretty decent performing phone. You're getting that Apple A13 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. And every single thing, anytime a new iPhone comes out, I always compare this iPhone against the newest ones. When the iPhone 12, 13, 14, and 15s have came out, every single year since 2019 I bought this phone, I've compared it against all those other products. And I will tell you, this iPhone, although it's slower than the newest iPhone, it still is like a very decent performing phone. I use this phone a lot on my second channel and even my third channel, like random videos and things like that across the board. And you would actually be shocked how good of a job this iPhone still kind of does in like so many different random performing things that I just throw at it. Random games, random things across the board. This phone does a really good job, and that is something I'm always so happy about when I'm picking up a phone like this, because from that specific perspective, the performance is better than you'd think, but it's not amazing. I will say the things that kind of are lackluster about this phone from like an overall performance standpoint, the lack of 120 Hz, especially on an older phone like this, it does kind of show its age. And that can be kind of an annoying thing for some people. Like personally for me, I do actually like the fact that this phone is, it has a low resolution display, so pixels, it's like has less and less, it takes less power to push those pixels and it has less pixels to push. But the problem with that is that at 60 Hertz, you can definitely tell that some things can be a little glitchy, and ProMotion displays just typically make my phone feel faster. So that's kind of what it is. The other thing, if you're playing super heavy intensive games, this phone is definitely going to show its age a little bit, especially now that we have the A17 Pro chip that's going to be, playing like AAA games. When you're comparing this phone against the 15 Pro, that's when you're going to start seeing big slowdowns. But otherwise, you're basically going to be getting a very good experience with this type of product, which I think is very, very good to kind of keep in mind. The battery life on the iPhone 11 really hasn't been that great recently. So that's also like another kind of, sad thing for this phone. It used to be really good, but now it's actually gotten much worse. And that is kind of the problem with this type of product as well. So I will tell you, in my opinion, the iPhone 11 in 2024, this iPhone, probably one of my favorite iPhones of all time, but we are starting to see its age kind of show. The fact that this iPhone has gotten limited versions on iOS updates, the fact that this iPhone really isn't the best of the best anymore, and the fact that all iPhones have OLED displays, all iPhones have dynamic islands, and all iPhones have like more zooming in capability, frosted glass backs, USB-C, we're starting to see that all the iPhones before this iPhone are starting to show its age. And I feel like the iPhone 11, now that it's also one of the lowest supported iPhones on iOS, I don't know, it kind of is, I will tell you this, it wouldn't be the first iPhone I'd recommend people to buy, but if you're in the market and you want to save yourself some money at like 200 something dollars, this is a pretty decent option. And, I would say go for it if you really want to. So that pretty much covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.